Hey everyone, if you're thinking about applying to the NASA SEAS internship, I wanted to share some advice based on my experience last year. So, SEAS stands for STEM Enhancement in Earth Science. It's this internship hosted by NASA and UT Austin for 10th and 11th grade students. There are two versions of the internship. One is in person at UT Austin over the summer, and the other is a virtual program that lasts about 2 months in the same time frame. I did the virtual one. I was part of the 2024 Earth Systems Explorers project, which focused on remote sensing, which is basically using satellite imagery to analyze different environmental patterns. It was a great learning experience, and I'll probably make another video just about what the internship itself was like, but this one is just for tips and advice on applying to the program. Alright, so here are a few things I learned from my application process. First off, your video intro matters, but it doesn't have to be too fancy. The application requires a short video, but don't overthink it. For mine, I just sat in my bedroom and talked to the camera. There weren't any fancy cuts or special effects. It was just me explaining why I was interested. I talked about how I like browsing Google Maps for fun, looking at satellite imagery, and noticing how different locations change over time. I also mentioned a little about my volunteering experience. But overall, my video was, I think it was around 2 minutes in length. It wasn't too long. If you're interested or passionate about something and you want to include it in your video, I would say just talk about it naturally. I was a little nervous after seeing some examples on YouTube because honestly, mine was a pretty simple video and it still worked out. So honestly, I think they look more into who you are and your passion rather than how good of an editor you can be, if that makes sense. My second tip is that you don't need a long list of accomplishments to get accepted. When I applied in the middle of my junior year, I didn't have tons of major awards or leadership roles. I had maybe 1 or 2 club activities going on, but mostly I was just interested in things that had to do with environmental science. By the way, the virtual internship tends to be less competitive than the in-person one, so if you're unsure about your chances, that's always a good option. Last year, I believe they told us that the overall SEAS acceptance rate was around 14%. So while it is definitely competitive, trust me, it's not impossible. Third tip, don't stress too much about your grades. I didn't think my grades were special or great at the time of applying, but SEAS looks at your application holistically. So if you're passionate about the work, that will come through and it will show in your essays and your video. Fourth, if you're interested in UT Austin, SEAS can help your application a lot. The program is well regarded by UT admissions, and the SEAS director mentioned to us that having SEAS on your application makes you stand out. Of course, it's not a guarantee, but if you're applying to UT, this experience can be a nice addition to your application. Fifth, in your application, write about how you can contribute, not just what you'll gain from the program. In your essays and videos, try to focus on how you want to use what you learn, not just what the internship will do for you. Like, for example, instead of saying, this internship will help me grow my skills, you can frame it as, here's how I want to apply what I've learned in this internship to solve real-world problems. Sixth, don't use ChatGPT to write your essays. I know it's tempting, but I'd really recommend writing your application yourself. They can usually tell when something sounds overly done or too generic. It's much better for you to take your time and make it sound like you. Seventh, consider getting a recommendation letter from outside of school. Now, this is just my personal opinion, but instead of asking a teacher, you might want to reach out to a mentor or someone you volunteer with who knows your interests well. They might be able to write something that stands out more. Eighth, pick a project that genuinely interests you. A lot of people think that it's best to apply for the impressive projects, like the aerospace ones, to look good for college, but honestly, it's better to choose something that you're actually excited about. Trust me, go with what interests you and you'll get way more out of the experience that way. SEAS is a really cool opportunity, and even if you're thinking about applying, I'd say go for it. Honestly, I wasn't sure I had the strongest application, but they look for passion more than anything. Even if you don't get in, the application itself is a great way to reflect on your interests and put together a solid personal statement. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and good luck to everyone applying this year.